Mellow greetings, everybody. My name is James. I am from the internet, and today we are going to be talking about retired seniors. Okay, actually, we're just going to be talking about one retired senior. It's Trump. We're going to talk about Trump. Listen, he's out of the White House. I'd rather just forget about him, but in my haste to explain how irrelevant he was going to become, I jokingly said that I would only cover Trump once a week, and now everybody demands the weekly segment, so here it is. You're gluttons for punishment. You love it. You keep asking me for it. So, what the hell's going on with Donald Trump? Well, to start with, it looks like he pissed off the local HOA. You gotta watch out for Karen. She's ruthless. Ruthless. Palm Beach investigating Trump for already violating residency agreement by living at Mar-a-Lago. On Thursday, Forbes reported that local officials in Palm Beach, Florida are investigating whether former President Donald Trump is violating an agreement he made with the town by living permanently in his Mar-a-Lago country club since departing the White House. Quote, while under financial stress in 1993, Trump sought to monetize the residential mansion by turning it into a club. But the deal he struck with the town to allow that stipulated he could only live there for 7 consecutive days and 21 days in a year. Trump has lived there since leaving the White House and has spent long stretches at the resort in the past, but Palm Beach has never enforced the residency clause, according to the Palm Beach Post. Well, no, of course the city never enforced the clause. You know, he was the fucking president. But you can see how excited the local town is already, right? Paying tons of overtime for extra cops to make sure people aren't just parked outside taking pictures, all the added stress of having Trump there, and the Secret Service detail who coordinate with the local police and sheriff and technically override them anywhere they go. Yeah, the town doesn't want to deal with that fucking nightmare, and they know it's going to get worse. Earlier reports suggested that Palm Beach residents, disgusted at the prospect of Trump living among them, have written letters urging the local government to look into the agreement as a means of kicking him out, and it appears they are now listening. Quote, town manager Kirk Bluden told the Associated Press that the town is considering its options and that the matter could be brought up at Palm Beach's February council meeting. Much of the Trump family appears to be setting up shop in Florida, with Donald Trump Jr. and Kimberly Guilfoyle purchasing real estate in Jupiter, while Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner are setting up on a secluded island for billionaires just off the coast of Miami. Now, there have been rumors that Ivanka is going to challenge Marco Rubio for his Senate seat, mostly because Marco Rubio is trash, and even people who support Marco Rubio don't like Marco Rubio. So other than hanging at the senior center and taking basket weaving courses or whatever the fuck it is retired psychotic billionaires do with their free time, Trump also has that pesky little impeachment thing to deal with in a few weeks. Now, the popular line of thought is that with it being so close in the Senate, there's no way they're going to get enough votes to fully put him into lockdown. All Trump has to do is shut his mouth, let his lawyers do the talking, and everything should be fine. Don't! Trump's impeachment defense team leaves less than 2 weeks before the trial. Former President Donald Trump's 5 impeachment defense attorneys have left a little more than a week before his trial is set to begin, according to people familiar with the case, amid a disagreement over his legal strategy. Oh, God. It was a dramatic development in the second impeachment trial for Trump, who has struggled to find lawyers willing to take his case. And now, with legal briefs due next week and a trial set to begin only days later, Trump is clinging to his election fraud charade and suddenly finds himself without legal representation. Now, if you remember, early into his whole Stop the Steal grift, he had attorneys all over the country helping Rudy and Jenna and everybody else file briefs and go to all these court dates, and one by one, they kept dropping off and eventually quitting because they would lose, and then Donald Trump would tell them, no, go back and file it again because there was fraud. And they're like, we don't have any evidence of fraud. That's why they threw it out. And Trump would be like, you're just horrible attorneys, go. And eventually his entire legal team was just Jenna Ellis and Rudy. And Rudy pretty much spent most of his time farting on Jenna Ellis.
Wow! Put on big boy pants.
Yeah, that's That's disturbing. Okay. Note to self, do not let the act.tv graphics department anywhere near my computer again. Butch Bowers and Deborah Barbier, who were expected to be two of the lead attorneys, are no longer on the team. A source familiar with the changes said it was a mutual decision for both to leave the legal team. As the lead attorney, Bowers had assembled the team. Josh Howard, a North Carolina attorney who was recently added to the team, has also left, according to another source familiar with the changes. Johnny Gasser and Greg Harris from South Carolina are no longer involved with the case either. No other attorneys have announced they are working on Trump's impeachment defense. A person familiar with the departures told CNN that Trump wanted the attorneys to argue there was mass election fraud and that the election was stolen from him, rather than to focus on the legality of convicting a president after he's left office. Trump was not receptive to the discussions about how they should proceed in that regard. So Trump manages to find like the last few attorneys who'll even fucking talk to him. They take all this time out. They write like a whole plan. They sit down with them and they're like, okay, here, Mr. President Trump, here's your 5-point defense strategy. Here's what we're going to do. And Trump's like, where in here does it say there was fraud? They're like, it doesn't say anything about fraud, so you're facing impeachment. Yes, but fraud. So fraud? And finally, they were just like, fuck it, and they all left. And of course, he can't call Rudy, A, because as we see, Rudy just kind of flew out the window, and B, because Rudy's going to be called as a witness or a person of interest or a co-conspirator, so he actually can't represent Trump. But hey, if anybody's going to pull a rabbit out of their ass at the 11th hour, it's going to be Donald. I have $300 million lying around because idiots donated it to me, Trump. What do you got, Don? What's the play? Where's the save? Let me see, Don. What's behind door number 2? Trump's new impeachment lawyers. One declined to prosecute Bill Cosby. One met with Jeffrey Epstein and decided that he couldn't even defend him. That's it. Those are the only 2 attorneys left. Former President Donald Trump announced a new impeachment legal defense team on Sunday, one day after it was revealed he had parted ways with an earlier set of attorneys just before his Senate trial was set to begin. The 2 representing Trump will be defense lawyer David Schoen, a frequent television legal commentator, and Bruce Castor, a former district attorney in Pennsylvania who's faced criticism for his decision to not charge actor Bill Cosby in a sex crimes case. Holy crap. This is who Donald Trump came up with. The guy has $300 million just sitting around in a big old fucking slush fund. And this was the best legal representation he could come up with. I'm just going to assume that Nancy Grace never returned his call. Hi, Nancy. Both attorneys issued statements through Trump's office saying they were honored to take the job. Quote, "The strength of our Constitution is about to be tested like never before in our history. It is strong and resilient, a document written for the ages, and it will triumph over partisanship yet again and always," said Castor, who served as district attorney for Montgomery County outside of Philadelphia from 2000 to 2008. Ah, yes, it's a constitutional issue. See, that sounds like the lawyer saying something, not Trump. Smart move. The announcement was intended to promote a sense of stability surrounding the Trump defense team as his impeachment trial nears. Yeah, I don't think the word stability is ever attached to anything associated with the name Trump or the human being known as Donald Trump. So, seems like kind of a lost cause, but you do you, boo. The former president has struggled to hire and retain attorneys willing to represent him against charges that he incited the deadly riot at the U.S. Capitol, which happened when a mob of loyalists stormed Congress as lawmakers met January 6th to certify Joe Biden's electoral victory. Oh yeah, that's right. The whole insurrection thing. Yeah, that happened. Amazing. It was only like, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, and we just stopped talking about the fact that there was an insurrection and our Capitol was overrun while Donald Trump was standing outside going, everybody just go and I will meet you there in a minute. And then he like sat in the White House with Don Jr. and watched the live Fox coverage and cackled like a fucking loon. Oh, and for the record, just about everybody who's been arrested as part of the Capitol insurrection, including Man Bear Pig, the Q shaman, yeah, they have all blamed Donald Trump. They all said, we were just following orders. They used the Nuremberg defense, which... peak irony in this instance, and they are all willing to give statement and testify that the only reason that they did insurrection was because Donald Trump told them to do it. So, yeah, I hope these two attorneys are fucking aces, Don. It's a sharp contrast from his first impeachment trial when his high-profile team of attorneys was led by Alan Dershowitz. Castor, a Republican who is the elected district attorney of Pennsylvania's third most populated county, decided against charging Bill Cosby in a 2004 sexual encounter. He ran for the job again in 2015, and his judgment in the Cosby case was a key issue used against him by a Democrat who defeated him. Oh, good. Trump's surrounding himself with other losers who get beaten by Democrats. At least they have that whole unity thing going on. You just stole Biden's new slogan. In 2004, Castor ran for state attorney general unsuccessfully. In 2016, he became the top lieutenant to the state's embattled attorney general, Kathleen Kane, as she faced charges of leaking protected investigative information to smear a rival and lying to a grand jury about it. Are we sure this Castor fellow isn't actually related to Trump? Meanwhile, the other attorney, Schoen, met with financier Jeffrey Epstein about joining his defense team on sex trafficking charges just days before Epstein killed himself. Epstein didn't kill himself. In an interview with the Atlanta Jewish Times last year, Schoen said he had also been approached by Trump associate Roger Stone before Stone's trial about being part of the team and that he was later retained to handle his appeal. Trump commuted Stone's sentence and then pardoned him. Schoen maintained in the interview that the case against Stone was, quote, very unfair and politicized. So it looks like Trump had a plan B. Now, the only thing missing from this is that Trump no longer has his megaphone. I mean, sure, he can put out press releases from the office of the former president, but it really lacks the same snappiness as his, flippant comments on Twitter that would get him hundreds of millions of impressions on a weekly basis. And he no longer has that. He no longer has a way to vent his rage, as well as obfuscating the national conversation before the impeachment trial begins. And that's got to be chapping his ass, so I wonder what he's doing about it. Trump forced to ask others to tweet his insults after losing his Twitter account. Donald Trump is finding himself at a disadvantage in his war against Representative Liz Cheney now that he's been banned from Twitter. The former president has made Cheney's political destruction a vital priority after the Wyoming Republican spoke out in favor of his impeachment, which she then voted for. But it's harder to exert his influence over the Republican Party without his social media account. No, seriously, he's a gigantic crybaby. Due to Twitter's banning of the real Donald Trump account following the Capitol riot that Trump instigated, he has not been able to personally trash Cheney via his once widely read tweets. He's written out insults and observations, several of them about Cheney, but with no ability to tweet them himself, he's resorted to suggesting put-downs for others to use or post to their own Twitter accounts, according to a person with direct knowledge of this new habit. So this is what Trump's doing in his retirement to quit the Twitter addiction. He's used to sitting there just going click, 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 click all goddamn day like, Pelosi, Nancy Pelosi is very unattractive. Click send. Oh look, a tweet about how awesome Donald Trump is. Click retweet. Like he can't do that anymore. So he's sitting there with a fucking cocktail napkin and a pen, writing out the dumb things he would tweet, and then like handing them to other people around the club, going, excuse me, Mr. Jones, would you tweet this? So as always, I want you to know that I very much love and appreciate all of you for coming back every day, watching these videos, sharing the links, making them more popular as the days and weeks go by. And yes, this is your segment. Y'all asked for it. You demanded it. So now you know what the hell's going on with Donald Trump. Tune in tomorrow when we talk about anything other than 45. Until then, my name is James. I am from the internet and I am out. Peace.